Scammers posing as psychics.
She is a scam. She is fake. She is a bottom feeder.
Always saying I can predict the future.
She is a leech that will suck you dry.
Look inside to the crystal ball. In your future, we can see you enjoying this story of how a proclaimed psychic was caught in an international scam for over $250 million. On this week's episode of Caught, presented by Catfished, we're going to be taking a look into the peculiar case of Maria Duval, one of the world's most infamous psychic scam cases that's been going on since the 1980s. Scamming victims of Alzheimer's and dementia through promises of quick cash and miracle cures to their illnesses. Maria Duval was a psychic who made her living reading tarot cards and predicting the future. She became a very famous psychic in Europe, and many people would attest to how great and gifted she was in person. In an interview, Maria stated that she was an angel sent from heaven to help people, and the way that she helped them was by telling them their future. In the 70s and 80s, Maria was constantly in the news, on television, radio shows, and even had her own horoscope column in the French Vogue magazine. In the 1980s, people all around the world started receiving mailers from Maria, claiming that she was reaching out to them to help them. These mailers would even include personal information about the recipient to make the message seem even more genuine, such as when the recipient was born and other distinguishing identity factors. In the letters, she would claim that she could help them with whatever challenge they were facing, and that she would also help turn their life around. If they were sick, they would become healthy, and if they were poor, they would become wealthy. All they would have to do to receive Maria's blessings was send her some personal items, such as hair, a fingerprint, and of course, money. While most of you would assume not many people fell for her promises of wealth and miracle cures, as it turns out, over 1.5 million people believed her and sent her whatever she was asking for. After going on for several decades, the United States Federal Trade Commission, or the FTC, began receiving complaints about mailer fraud. After a reported accumulated amount of $200 million was stolen from 1.4 million consumers, the Department of Justice eventually got involved to help take down the scam. A large number of InfoJust targets were diagnosed with Alzheimer's or dementia, which is how they were able to accumulate so many victims. The Department of Justice found that the scam was run by a whole network of scammers that had big pockets that only seemed to be getting bigger. As the investigation came to a close, authorities were able to track down those involved within the scam. They first caught Maria Thanos and Philip Lett, who worked for Canada's InfoJust Direct Marketing, along with their alleged boss, whom the government says was the leader of InfoJust, Patrice Runner, who lived in Ibiza, Spain. He currently faces 18 counts of mail and wire fraud and conspiracy to commit mail fraud and money laundering. The US government has barred InfoJust, Thanos, and Lett from sending letters to and from the United States. As for the additional consequences of Thanos and Lett, they each face up to 20 years in prison and $250,000 in fines. According to reports, Runner was the behind-the-scenes mastermind behind everything, allegedly living all around the world, creating shell companies, and even sending money to offshore accounts that he had access to. When investigators eventually went after 81-year-old Maria Duval, they were shocked at what they had found. Maria seemed to have no involvement within the scam. None of the letters were actually sent from her, and she had no idea what had been going on in her name. Ironically, like many of the InfoJust victims, Maria was suffering from Alzheimer's, and according to her son, she couldn't even remember her own name during the police questioning. One thing that investigators found was that Maria had sold the rights to her name to a Swiss businessman, and was receiving royalty checks from whatever business they were conducting in her name. Since the investigation, there has been a lot of media attention on this matter as the scam went on for so long and did so much damage. The authors of A Deal with the Devil, a book covering the Duval scam, stated, "It's almost impossible to find another case of consumer fraud that has touched more people, wiping out modest monthly social security checks and draining bank accounts." In 2016, the US government put this scam away and shut down all of their operations. We know now that you or your loved ones won't be receiving any more of Maria Duval's letters, but for how long? I guess we'll never know. And so concludes the peculiar case of psychic Maria Duval and the Psychic Scam Network. Let us know in the comment section down below if you think Maria had some knowledge of what was going on. For more in-depth details on this case, please feel free to check out our blog, linked in the description down below. For teasers on new episodes, be sure to follow us on our social media pages, hit that notification bell and subscribe button to be notified when the next episode of Caught, presented by Catfish, goes live.